Can we talk about just a couple of specifics with the testimony?
Yeah.
Because I think there are a couple of aha moments there, where you have to go, are you kidding me? So the biggest one, I think, to me anyway, was Nathan Wade, the Paramore, the special prosecutor. He's talking about the trips they've taken, something like 6-7 trips. She must be gassed as DA. It must be a hard job because she's on a lot of vacations. I should take as many vacations. You should take as many vacations.
Three or four vacations, but in trips they classified as like a day trip or an overnight trip.
Well, I'm talking Belize, Bahamas. I mean, there were some Aruba. Those three alone. Those were trips. The cruise with mom, that then went to the Belize thing. Anyway,
right.
He's saying, he charged those because there's a record, but then she paid me back in cash. Oh, really? I mean, they didn't really get as close as I would have liked to the hard numbers. Like, I paid him back $2,500. We know she said I never gave him more in one time than $2,500. But it just starts the wheel spinning. Is she either got a drug deal on the side, she's selling stuff? What's generating that cash? And if she's got cash...
She said she takes it out of ATM. Look, I play with a lot of poker players. They do a lot of that.
Out of the ATM. That's a lot.
Well, she did.
She said she had it around the house. A lot of money around the house. That's what she said.
Yeah, but every poker player I know has a lot more of that around there. She's not a poker player. But you know what leads to an interesting question? You know the Young Thug trial, which is there in Atlanta, and indicted by her office for
RICO.
Yes. One of the things they talk about is like the cash Young Thug had when he was stopped in a car for one of his cohorts having some kind of drugs, and he had a wad of cash. Right? They put the elastic bands in. And they're saying in that courtroom that's from drug deals. So I expect that there's to be some shall we say fallout in that case for that, because if you're going to have cash, that's what people assume.
It's like putting Fani Willis in the same category as Young Thug. Well, why does she have gobs of cash laying around? And she acknowledges her paychecks come direct deposit from the state and from the county. So it's one of two things going on: lying about reimbursing the young stud, not the young thug, the young stud. Or she's got a lot of cash somewhere that the IRS might be interested in knowing about. One way or the other.
That's another interesting issue, except that, all of us women know that we do put a couple $100s of cash in our wallets when we go out. Even with our husbands, just in case. Well, I don't do that.
$9,000. No,
honey, can I borrow $9,000?
I know. It just stinks. It just stinks. And if we circle back to the original theme here, that is this perception enough to sully her reputation and the office's reputation to the point that they've got to dump this case?
Well, that's an interesting thing, and not a withdrawal or the judge dumps it. But I have to say one other thing. I did like Mr. Wade's testimony. I actually thought he was being very honest. I felt very bad for him, quite frankly, except that he shouldn't have been in a relationship with her either as special prosecutor.
It was felony stupidity all the way around. There's no doubt about it. And the crime, the punishment may fit the crime. We'll see how this goes. But I do have one question about his testimony. I also thought was very bizarre and never really explained to me. They presented him with the prospect that he had made $300,000-ish in this one period of time after he became special prosecutor. And he said, no, I didn't. That went into the firm's account, which at that time had 3 people, and then over a few months it dissolved into 2 people, and it split 3 ways. Why are you splitting the money you get from the county as special prosecutor 3 ways? Isn't that pay to you for your job? Are you hiring your guys in your firm and then splitting it? No.
And the same with the appearance contracts, because the appearance contracts to go to prosecutors, to defense attorneys to make the appearance, it goes to the specific person. But there must be some agreement in the firm that any money that comes in gets divvied 3 ways. So even though it goes specifically to an individual, it gets divvied in the firm 3 ways.
And I wish they would have asked that question. Well, did so-and-so and so-and-so, his 2 other partners, did they contribute in any way to the work that was done for this case? I'm confident the answer would have been no. And then it gets you back to the original prospect, which is you got that $300,000. So I don't think that smelled right either. I think that just sounded like some sort of attempt to explain, do some splaining as to why he got all this money. And they really didn't get into with Fani, and this may come up around too, about why
they may tomorrow.
Why is she paying him $250 an hour and everybody else gets $150 an hour?
Well, she said she struck a good deal with him, that the AG's office pays $1,000 an hour and she caps at $250, and he did a lot of extra work.
And he did, yes, I know.
On it,
they tried to kind of make him sympathetic, like he was working his fingers to the bone for free. And, luckily they paid him, a certain amount of money.
It's just about, it just didn't look good. You know what? This is a good lesson for me. When I tell witnesses, I'm going to tell them, when you get on the stand from now on, yes or no. If there is an explanation, or you have a lot of splaining to do, Lucy, as they used to say in that comedy, right? I'm going to say, and then leave it to me to redirect you, and you could answer and explain away. Because I think it's one thing to look tough. It's one thing to say your reputation sullied unfairly. It's another thing to not look good in front of the judge, who has to admonish you as the prosecutor and a lawyer.